you got that going straight into your computer there?
Hey, Leslie.
Hi, how
It's
are
going to
you?
go straight onto the YouTube live stream.
Oh, okay.
And in the video.
Did you have to
Trying
have,
to
you
beat
have,
Rita.
you have to have the software, obviously, for that camera.
Good. Hi, how are you?
Because I have a camera, too, that Jarrell gave me. It's just like that.
Yeah, it's
But I
going to
haven't-
be an external little copy.
I haven't been able to use it because I don't have the software. And I can't download it.
Actually, this is just a hardware. It's a Magi, a US HDMI to USB
Converter.
converter, and no software. Hardly.
But you need the software to get the video.
So it comes straight in with it.
Oh, so you just use the
It
converter?
comes in with it. It's a USB camera.
Yeah. No software? Okay. Let me take a look at that converter. Do you mind?
Oh, it's just sort of plug. It's
wanna
just
see
pretty
it.
important. So we put the HDMI to here. And
It's converted
it converts it
to
to USB signal.
USB. Okay.
Very nice. All right. Yeah, because I have a camera just like this.
Right.
Put it to use, you know?
Yeah, it works well.
Oh, yeah. Literally. Exactly.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, sign in right now.
Okay.
Here's some milk. Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm not going to my chest.
You're the representative. I'm the representative today. Today.
How you doing, young lady?
Did you sign one part of it?
No, I don't get paid anything.
How are you?
Is anyone sitting here since you started?
You're sitting there. Oh, you want to sit up there?
So we'll get started. Let's probably wait 5 minutes for some people to come in.
It's hot. Goodness.
You got my email? Just read it.
Yosemite tomorrow.
Grab a seat anywhere. Make sure you sign in.
60,
You have to sign in, Lila.
40 at night.
I'll sign in. Hi, how are you? Nice to see you.
Fall.
I'm sorry about
Yes.
the confusion.
I don't mean to. I'm just like,
We go over here. No, his name's Kim Curry.
Okay, that's good.
Oh, Kim Curry's right.
Yes, these things will
I'm going to
get on the
have
same page. Any particular place I should sit?
because there are
you
some
can
kids
sit in any place you like.
Okay.
I'll be presenting probably well, hopefully all over the place.
I'm
Well, we're standing in. They're like,
I'm going to sit next to
so it's not. It's still a little. Yeah. With the kids.
I'm in DITSA for administrators. This is my mentor.
Oh,
Hi.
okay. Hi, how you doing?
Nice to meet you.
If you need any
Critique.
critiques on this one,
Oh, I'm supposed to be empowering.
Criticizing.
Criticizing.
My wife says, you finally got a life coach. Well, this is Tracy.
Oh, Tracy, nice to meet you.
I didn't know they had bits of her admin.
Yeah.
Well, now if you, any new administrator in California has to go through.
Okay, yeah, just send them over
coaching,
and then I
40
can
hours each year.
talk to
So
them
it's
about
pretty,
that.
Wow, because I have my credential, but I've never utilized it. So
Once you get the role,
then you get the bits up. Oh, so that's going to push
so
me
you
farther and
have
farther away.
yeah, it's like 5 years after you do that.
Yeah.
Figure out the other stuff.
So, but I don't think I'm going to.
and then he's running away by the time introduced to the steward.
Oh,
He's a retired teacher. They're all like very pretentious. He's got board.
Easy peasy.
but there's more.
All day, so it's awesome.
Oh, that's good.
It's nice to
lot of new stuff, a lot of new laptops. How are you? How's it going?
Good. I was very happy. I was worried for my class.
Yeah.
So I probably said that
Oh,
very
yeah.
and then I had for 2 years. Like, okay, I'm due.
Yeah. Anybody good?
I just introduced you to it while you're walking away.
Like, nice to meet
You know.
you. Yeah. So we're going to go here. Yeah. Quick.
And I teach period. So it's different.
Oh,
He's got a very, very huge job.
It's not all day.
Tells you the work again.
How's it?
So you use good.
Yeah.
And then it has to go.
Games. When's that? So easy.
No, it's not, but I recently got the little one.
Oh.
And then all the other guys, there's great to see
How many students are on the campus?
A little over 40.
Oh, that's
So,
not
but
bad.
if she goes from working TK at 3, so we've got like 5 students wrong and it's first grade.
Wow.
But he doesn't go to next level, so I know it's not to go to next level.
So they don't even know to call them.
This is his third year?
Yeah, third, 3 and yeah, so yeah.
And now they're still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
How's her son?
She's so cultured.
Yeah?
Well, I'm familiar with you.
One or two?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with I've only used two.
I think my son.
That was more like wires from to, versus. Because actually, my puzzle like oh, I see. So this is makeup for a little bit. She just visited her today for her parents. And brought her.
Yeah, my son started kindergarten, so we started to go through homework and all that stuff. He already had homework in his preschool, but now it's a lot more responsibility, And he's got in trouble a couple times. Well, the teacher's really strict.
The different acrobatics.
Old school. She.
That's it.
And he's really like, with us, I'm strict, but, it's to have his word and, got a lot of woman background, sharing his opinion.
Exactly.
And that's not happening there.
She's like, no.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's good. I told my wife that's good because he's going to learn.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't have to be.
Parameters. Yeah.
I mean, not that it shouldn't be,
Yeah.
but it's different when you have like the psychiatrist.
Yeah. So it's going well. He likes it, It's cool.
Is it just kids?
Yeah, for a bunch of students.
Punctuation saves lives.
So he goes to Boys and Girls Club. Yeah. She's a nurse. So 2 days out of the week she can pick him up and drop him off. And then the other days they drop him off.
But see, her plan was just to, like, once she has the original copy, then she's got the words for the week. But the kids will memorize. That's also the scary thing.
Well, the first couple of days it's like,
Well,
like calling, did he make it?
Yeah. Like, I don't know if they'll catch on, but that could
He
be
becomes
smart one.
independent too.
Yeah, but
Hey, how you doing?
yeah, who knows? Yeah, that's a good point. Have her switch it. Yeah.
Then my other one will start next year, so they'll be together. Yeah. Oh, your daughter doing over there? No, is she back there?
Okay, so I'm going to get started in about 30 seconds.
So it was so good.
No offense to the curve.
It's just very. Just don't share that with me. No.
Okay, so if you are in the, actually all of us should be in the educational technology group in Schoology. We're going to access the agenda through our OneNote. So if you go to the resources area on the left, if you scroll down, or it should come up here, you see the OneNote notebook here. It says EdTech Live Agenda, so we're going to be using the OneNote to access the agenda. And then on the left-hand side, there is a tab that says TIA and Tech Lead, so just click on that tab. And today's date is the 18th, so you're going to click on the Tech Leads page, and there's a sub-page with today's date. Okay, so welcome. This is our second Tech Lead meeting of the year today. Happy to have you. We're happy to answer all your questions that you may have. We're going to go over a few things today. We're going to have a quick welcome, and we're going to have some quick news updates from Tech and from things that might just concern us as Tech Leads. And then I'm going to go into ExamView and how you can transfer an ExamView test into a Schoology test quiz. I just want to know really quickly, raise your hand if at your site ExamView is something that is used. Okay, so I see a few hands. So this is a really powerful powerful feature that we have, and we want to communicate that to you. Okay, and then Jarrell's going to cover technology tool analysis. We'll talk more about that later. And then we have a special announcement at the end of today's meeting. Okay, and we're very excited to talk a little bit about it. I don't remember if we mentioned it last time, actually, last meeting. But okay, so just a quick welcome. Turn to your neighbor, tell them what your role is, your name, your role, and what school site you're from. I'll give you guys about 1 minute. Make a new friend. Okay, ready, set, Okay, hope everyone made a new friend today. It's important for us to get to know each other because a lot of the things that come up, some issues that may arise at your campus might also be issues that have risen at other campuses. So, as we get to know each other this school year, we'll be able to increase that communication between everyone and know that you're not alone. Okay, you may, if you are the only tech lead at your school site, just know there's other people elsewhere that may be facing the same situations that you are.
I'll show you.
Okay. So with that, I'm going to jump into the quick news update. I was making tickets for a lot of password resets for students. You know, the students who try to log into their Chromebook and their login isn't working. That was driving me crazy. But we have a solution now. From now on, you can just call technology. I'm no longer the middle person. Just call technology extension 2000. If the kid cannot log in, their login isn't working, and they'll be able to address it right away, immediately. Yes, Julia?
Should a kid be able to log in their second day as a student?
If they are in
like if today was their first day in an actual class, but they're in Synergy and the teacher can take attendance and everything.
As long as it's been 24 hours that they've been entered in Synergy, they should.
We don't have a way of checking when they were entered in. They could have been entered in a week ago, but today was their first day in class. I mean, it doesn't hurt for us to call extension 2000, in other words. I don't want to jump the gun if there's no way they would have a login.
I think we usually have to wait 2 or 3 days before.
Well, no, often we've had kids who've had to wait weeks, so we don't want to. And it's not because that's the way it's supposed to work, you know? So I'm just wondering, if it is their very first day in a class, should we not bother calling, or should we go ahead and call?
I believe what I was told, it's 24 hours from the date that they've been entered into Synergy that their DFS account is created. So that's what I know. If it's, otherwise there's some issues, just go ahead and call extension 2000 and then they can maybe troubleshoot or look into it a little bit further.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Marilyn.
And also going back to that, I was told that even if a student, we know the student's coming, say it's Tuesday, but we know they're going to start next week, Monday, that they can't be entered into Synergy until they're physically there on the first day. Even if they know they're coming.
Entered into Synergy, but the teacher won't see them in their class.
Oh, okay.
And then I don't think they'll see them in their Schoology class till the day after.
Right.
So if they started in Synergy and the teacher could take attendance for them on Tuesday, they may or may not be in the Schoology gradebook until the next day.
The same happens.
Right.
Okay, so just call technology.
Okay.
If for whatever reason it's been more than 24 hours and they still can't log in, just go ahead and call them over, and then hopefully they can troubleshoot that. Okay, I think I've mentioned the second bullet point already, but I just want to put it out there again. The Schoology test quiz feature is to be phased out. I touched base today with Schoology and I asked them if they can give me an ETA. At the moment, they don't have an ETA, which actually can be a good thing because I think it is going to, they're continuing to work on some of the glitches that are happening with the converter tool that's available. So I want to mention this because I really would like to move more towards ad assessment, using the ad assessment tool just because of this reason. But if there are teachers that are using test quiz, that's perfectly fine. When the phase out finally does take place, there is a converter tool now that's available in Schoology to switch test quiz into ad assessment. And you access that by going to your resources tab, your personal resources tab. The test quiz would have to be in your personal resources, and then when you click on the gear icon, you'll see the convert option.
But they can't create.
No, in your personal?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can always create one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of teachers use that.
But after the conversion, if they want to, after the test quiz option is no longer there, their old test quizzes, if they upload them into resources, then they can convert them to assessments.
So you're asking if the converter will be turned on still? Is that what you're asking?
I guess. Yeah, I'm kind of asking if next year.
I didn't ask Schoology that. I imagine they would keep the converter tool open.
Otherwise, old test quizzes you lose.
Yeah, let me ask them about that. I didn't even think of that, but that's a good point you bring up.
I have a question.
Yeah.
With the test assessment, the one that the one that's going to be phased out. One of the options that I really like is that you're able to respond to the students. If you have a quiz and they have some kind of response, you can give them some feedback. The other one doesn't.
Yes, so there's a lot of things that test quiz does that ad assessment doesn't do. And I talked to Schoology about that, and that's part of the reason why they don't even have an ETA yet, is because they're still working on all those little features that one of the test quiz has. They're still working on adding it to the ad assessment, so they're in the middle of still working all those things out. So that's definitely on the radar. They're very much aware of it, because when I asked them about, hey, this is here and it's not here, they're like, yes, our engineers are working on it, they're aware of it. So that's the response I typically get. But I wanted to add something to that and I forgot. But Marion, what's your question?
I just want to find out, do we have like an approximate date? Because I want to let the teachers know, or should I not even?
I would just say, typically Schoology launches things at the start of a new school year. Okay. So my guess is they would, if they're going to do a transition, they're going to do it during that period. But when I asked to come, because I remember when I went to Next, that's what I heard. But today when I asked them, they told me they don't have an ETA.
Okay, so don't tell the teachers.
But yeah, so just be aware of it. So maybe have teachers get more comfortable using the ad assessment tool, so that they can, once that time is here, they know at least that the tool is there. Because some people still don't even know that there's an ad assessment tool.
Yeah, they
So typically they just gravitate to that test quiz. So,
No, actually, I was trying to find it under.
so making them, building that awareness of it, starting now is important.
Can I ask a question about the passwords really quick?
Yeah.
So I've had students reset their passwords online. Can they still do that?
Okay. So maybe that's a Durrell question.
Oh.
Durrell, did you hear the question?
Yes.
So I've had students reset their own passwords online. Whenever they've had people access their accounts or whatever, I just go have them log in. Because remember we piloted last year, but I don't let everybody know. I just, whenever I have problems, I'll just have them do it, log in. And can we still do that?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're talking about two different scenarios here.
Yeah.
So what Nancy's referring to is are
If they
students who
forget.
just don't have
Yeah.
start from scratch. However, both students and staff have the ability to enroll in a self-service password reset tool, where it just like is when you sign up for a bank account, right? So it asks for authentication questions, and they set up security questions that they're asked to respond to, so that they forget their password. Or if you forget your password, you do the same thing and go in and reset it, and it backfills to your Office 365, to your Google account, to your ClassLink, to everything.
And you can link it to a cell phone number also.
I think for us, since all of us are equipped with cell phones, that's probably the preferred method of authentication. For students, we're thinking of encouraging them to use the security questions, but that's an option. So that's available. And so we've got a couple pilots, Markston and Alondra, and then Jackson Schools also deployed that.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so the next piece I want to talk about is citizenship, work habits, and comments in Schoology for grades 6-12. Specifically middle school, which they're in the process of turning in grades. I believe it's next week, right? So yes, there is you can add your citizenship, work habits, and columns in Schoology. There has been a change to the scale name. So if you click on this document, this is the updated document. If you remember last year, there was a how-to guide for teachers on how to add that information in Schoology. This is the updated version. Okay, so make sure you save this. You can communicate this to your teams as well. Okay. And I do want to point out a calls that I've been getting and concerns that I've been getting. When teachers enter citizenship grades, work habits grade, and comments, by default, if the item is published, by default, Schoology actually issues a category grade for that, even though it's in an unweighted category. So parents on their end, they will see an average under that category. So if there are questions regarding that, inform them it's under an unweighted category. Or another suggestion is the teacher can unpublish it for the time being and publish it when it's ready to be passed back. Does that make sense? So that the pass back can go through. Okay. I was working with SIS and I still need to hear back from them whether an unpublished comment, citizenship, or work habits will actually go through. Our theory is that it won't.
They didn't last time.
So it didn't?
No.
Okay, so then there's our answer then. I'll talk to SIS tomorrow about that. Yeah, that's why she said she was pretty sure it was a no, but we were still going to test it. But okay, if that happened to you last year, then it doesn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What's the turnaround on the so like when the teachers publish it, like if I tell them to publish it on Friday, how long before those are gone from the kids' grades? Like they won't see the passport grade.
Until the teacher turns it off or unpublishes it. Otherwise, it will remain there.
Okay,
so I believe there's a schedule that is sent out with the time that it's passed back. So if it's turned on like an hour or two before when the teacher leaves for the end of the day that day, they publish it again, and then tomorrow, the next day, they unpublish them.
Once they find the grades in Synergy, they could unpublish them in Schoology.
The teacher,
but it has to be published in Schoology.
Yes. I'm just thinking like the closest we can get to that, the parent or the student doesn't see it, the better.
Or just tell the kids what it means.
Well, the problem is that parents see it before the students are able to tell them. And then like the questions we had was like, okay, so if my son comes home and says, oh, that's not a real grade. And then every time they get an F now, it's going to be like, oh, that's not a real grade.
Well, I guess, it wouldn't be an F for... You're talking about the letter grade.
Yeah, it shows up as an F, passport F on the...
there's no I think you're talking pass
back. Yeah, pass. Well, okay. I'm sorry, yeah, pass back.
But that's just whatever their calculated letter grade is.
Right.
There's a category grade because the category is passed back.
Yeah.
And there's an average that's issued. But it's an unweighted grade because it's associated with an unweighted category.
Maybe we just need to send something out to students explaining what the pass back means.
Yeah.
And that it's not their letter. Why would that have a letter?
Yeah, so there's, communication is important so that teachers are aware that they know what to tell the parents.
So if they had you in all of their citizenship, work habits, and low numbers in their comments, they could have an F
or
as
whatever
a summary for pass back.
So the U is associated with the number. I think it's
right, it's a 1 out of 4.
So whatever that
25%.
averages are. Okay, so I do want to point out where you can go to publish and unpublish. Martin had this come up yesterday, actually. So when classes are linked, the moment those items are unpublished, they actually disappear. And it's very scary because you think you have lost everything. I don't know if a lot of people are aware of this, but in our grade book, there's actually 3 vertical dots here. And you have the bulk edit option, and this will actually list, if you go to bulk edit, it will list every entry you have in your grade book. And it's very easy to go through this as opposed to going through each column in the grade book. This is much cleaner. You also have the published. Green means published, white means unpublished. So you can easily turn on those items that you need to turn on again. And you can also do a quick scan through and make sure they associated it with the right category. So I just wanted to point that out because a lot of people haven't really navigated to the bulk edit. But there's a lot of different things you can do here. And then once you make the changes, always save changes, and then they'll reflect on your grade book. Okay, so any questions about the work habit, citizenship, comments before I move on?
Do you have to remake the column every grading period, or you just use the same columns?
You can use the same columns. You would just turn them off, unpublished, and so forth. And actually, I should point out, this is my mistake, the document that's here, this is a 6-8 document. So for my 9-12 people, Julia and Emily, the document is a different one, which I believe you guys already have because you guys already went through this process.
For the, if your classes are not linked, it looks a little bit different.
It actually stays in the grade.
So that's why when my classes are not linked, so when I was helping this teacher and I unpublished their grades and then they were all gone and I was like, what did I do? And this teacher's like really demanding. What did you do? I said, what? It's Just relax. Let's relax.
No, but that.
And so mine doesn't. It doesn't. When I do mine, it doesn't show up that way. It shows a different. Just so you guys are aware, for classes that are not linked.
Yeah. Yeah. So it acts differently when classes are linked and unlinked.
But even if you unpublish it, it'll still show up on your materials.
If you unpublish it,
yeah, it still shows up on your
well,
materials.
no, because in this case, we're having people add a grade column. So when you use the add grade column in a grade book, that doesn't appear under materials.
Yeah, I looked there.
Yeah, so let me show you. When we go to add grade column, this here doesn't show up under materials, only the add assignment option.
Okay.
And of course, add test quiz, add discussion, all of these would show in the materials area. Okay, so let me move on. I feel like I'm going really fast, but we're on time. Okay, so I'm going to show you a video next, so we can take a break, about how ExamView can be taken right into Schoology test quiz. Okay, and although they're phasing out test quiz, we have a converter. So even though the item is converted into test quiz, remember we have that converter that will be there. And you can also convert it to an add assessment. And actually I'll show you where the converter is too. So let me, I don't think we have sound. Do we have sound here? Do you know?
Usually there's a projector, but there'll be a delay.
Let me put these on.
It might be through your, maybe through your projector, and it may not be bad through your projector.
Oh, okay.
So give it a shot.
By the way, did you guys know we're live streaming our meeting? Yeah, we're live streaming the meeting right now. Anybody? Yeah, isn't that cool? I'm fired.
Everybody who's watching is here.
I'm fired up about it. Yeah, we're live streaming the meeting. So yeah, we've been experimenting with live streaming PDs and stuff. So props to Stuart. Thanks for connecting us with this.
Right.
So I was watching this from my office before I came down. I got all excited. So. What's that?
And it'll be available
He's got a
afterwards.
YouTube and YouTube and that site for YouTube, and then that's where the videos are going.
Oh.
And then he put out a link.
Okay, the first thing you need is
Sorry. Okay, it works.
Okay, the first thing you need is a new version of ExamView. And I'm going to show you right here, the ExamView test generator is the part of ExamView software that you use to create a new test. And so I will go into this test I've created. So I've created a test in ExamView, and it is 10 questions. An ExamView test will show you a paper version if you want. It has all sorts of answer keys and things right there. You can see this test has multiple choice, so I have A, B, C, D here. I also have some open response questions, and once those are imported into Schoology, the teacher would need to grade the open response, but the multiple choice ones will be self-grading. Up on the File menu, up at the upper left, book, there's an option to export. Make sure that's highlighted there for you. And then you see a number of options in the little dialog box that pops up. The second to last one says Blackboard 7.1 to 9.0. That's this one right here. And that's the one we're going to choose. We need to export this quiz as a Blackboard file type. Right away, it's going to ask me where I want to save it. I'm going to choose my desktop because I want it to be very easy to find. And I'm going to put a file name here. I'm going to call this JQuiz, and we'll say save. It then asks me for some information. The first thing I'm going to do at the very top is put in a test name, and we'll just call this JQuiz1. You don't need to fill in the description, the formatting, the feedback, leave that alone, but I do like to, you do need to put a directory name for the images, and that's for all the images that come over with these quizzes, and I just name it the same as I named the quiz itself. And we're going to say OK. It thinks for a moment. I'm going to minimize this and we'll go right into Schoology. I'm in a Schoology folder, and I'm at a point where it says really important quiz. This is a quiz I've created. There's nothing in it. We'll click on it and show you that. There are no questions. So when I click Add Question, if you look near the very bottom, it says Import Test or Quiz. That's what I'm going to choose. It only has two options, import from Blackboard 7.1 to 9.0 or Edmastery. We are going to do the Blackboard, that's what we exported, and say Next. Now it's going to ask me for the file. And I need to click that. Then I'm going to need to find that Jake practice quiz. It's going to be a zipped folder. And there it is, jakequiz.zip. You can see that. Double click it. After the upload is finished, it says complete, and I can click the import button. It takes just a moment, and you can see the questions are in. You will see next to them where it says multiple choice, 1 point, multiple choice, multiple choice. I'll click the gear, and so we can edit one of these questions. And when you look at this question, you'll see that it does have the correct answer marked right there, and so it will work as designed.
Okay. So pretty cool, huh?
One problem that I encountered, sometimes if you name it the same thing that you originally named it and go to save it, like if you title the quiz and you title it to that directory, it won't save it.
So
I had to change the name on it. So for example, I created a Unit 2 Chapter 3 test. So then when I did the exam view to put it on my desktop, I gave it the same name and it wouldn't save it and it wouldn't save it.
Oh, okay.
So I thought I had a problem. I said, you know what, let me try something else. And I flipped the name and it did save it.
Okay, so change the name.
Change the
Don't
name.
have it be the same.
Yes.
That's a good tip. And thank you to Patty for actually helping us find this out, figure this out. We actually played with it last time, and it was because of Patty that I wanted to mention this. So if you are aware of your teachers using ExamView and they have used it heavily for many years, and they might have many different files on there, there is a way to transfer those items from ExamView right into Schoology. Okay. And I do have the second link here, this is the video that we just watched, and then the first one is actually the directions. So I have a step-by-step guide on how to do that. So if you want to download it now and save it, you're more than welcome to do so. Okay, any questions about that? Yes.
Just the ExamView, I used it many years ago. Is that correlated with the textbooks we have, or is it separate?
Yes.
It has to. You have to. So whatever textbook we have has to have the ExamView connected with it, right? Is that how it works?
That is a good question. I am not.
It's a resource that might be in the package
Right.
with the text. So our new social studies adoption, the 681 had ExamView piece, and that's actually downloadable, and then tech can get it on your computer if they don't have it. But you'd have to see.
So it doesn't work for like a technology class because we don't have a textbook associated with it. So I wouldn't be able to use it.
No, you can use it, but you have to make up your own questions.
Yeah, it's usually a component that, like
Comes
the
with the textbook,
preloaded questions are a
That's what I'm
component
saying, yeah. So it's
linked with the
connected to
book.
the textbook.
There are, with some versions of ExamView, CDs with Common Core questions. I don't know if they're like Common Core technology questions.
Right.
So, you might be able to find some questions you could use in a freehand.
Because you can create a test from scratch.
Yes.
Okay, so you don't need the subscription for the.
No,
Okay.
it says you can create from scratch.
Okay.
But if you're creating from scratch, you might just do it directly in Schoology.
Right.
Yeah, so why do it?
This is more for people who've already got a bunch of ExamView quizzes and they want to keep using them year after year.
Yeah, so it's another incentive for them to explore the online test quiz feature. You know, now it's just because you have it on ExamView or paper doesn't mean you can't potentially add it into Schoology. Okay. So with that, I'm going to hand the baton over to Darrell, which is going to cover technology tool analysis.
Is ExamView only for the upper grades?
That's a good question.
No.
Joy, do you know?
You would have to explore depending on what your current textbook is, but I know that Connected, from what I can tell, doesn't have an ExamView component. It's
So it is connected to the textbooks.
I think I have
So-
some old CDs that
Yeah.
have either California standard questions from way back or Common Core questions, and I think they run the gamut of grade levels.
So, yeah, so ExamView is one of those really cool tools that if I'm a publisher like Holt or like McGraw-Hill, I'll contract with Turning Point Media or ExamView, and I'll have the ExamView piece. And ExamView is kind of like a printer driver. It doesn't really do anything except for post and develop assessments. And then if I'm a publisher, then I'll package my own item bank and insert it in there, and we'll package it together. So that's the way ExamView works. It actually has some really cool, powerful assessment development tools for traditional kinds of assessments. So anyways, so I wanted to kind of change gears, maybe for the remaining time, and talk a little bit about the tools that we use in general. Maybe we would even consider adding ExamView to this list. So, what are some of the different kinds of tools that are technology that you use in the classroom? I'll just throw it out there. Name a couple. Obviously, we have one here that we use called OneNote. Is there any? What are some of the tools that we use?
You can.
Google what? Classroom.
Google Slides, Google
So,
Sheets.
Slides.
Google-
Okay. All those different things. Anything else? Padlet. Anybody else from the center?
Flipgrid?
Yeah.
Flipgrid. Okay.
Hardware, we have the ViewCam.
Okay. So leaning more towards the software piece.
Oh, okay.
Software piece. That's a good distinction. Emily, what about you guys?
We've used Publisher a lot, Kahoot,
Photoshop.
Edpuzzle.
Okay.
Extra
Okay.
math.
I want to stretch your imagination a little bit and place some of these tools into the overall scope of what we do in the classroom. Okay. So if you think of running a good solid lesson plan, what are some of the things that you consider doing? You initiate a lesson by what? How do you connect with prior knowledge? What are some of the things you would use? Show video. Okay, so video. Okay, so that's another kind of technology. What else would you do? What would you do to connect and engage the students initially? What are some of those? What are some of the tools that you can imagine?
Poll.
Okay, doing a poll.
Discussion board.
Discussion board. Okay. Okay. Once you're past that, when you start getting it and revealing and discussing the actual content, what do you use?
I use a projector.
Okay. How do you serve up the content? How do you serve up math facts? How do you serve up the Civil War? How do you serve that stuff up?
Give articles. King.
I mean, right? Okay.
Inquiry.
Inquiry. Okay. What kind of technology do you use? Videos. Okay. So I'm glad. I'm kind of trying to stretch us a little bit because we have a lot of really great tools. So we use all of them to the same level with the same effect. What do we use for rehearsal? What do we use for the students to kind of practice their knowledge and really dig in and really make their knowledge their own? What kinds of technologies we use there? Okay, some of the real grounding ones like docs, Word, some of the ones that are sort of like foundational. What about assessment?
Illuminate. The scan and the scan
I just learned that one. Google Forms.
Forms, okay. It's a Google table over there. Okay, good. See that table?
Schoology.
Okay. Schoology. Good. Yes. Right.
The
occurs in the Kahoot can be a formative assessment?
What about presentation of knowledge? I now know this stuff. How do I share my knowledge with my teacher and my classmates and maybe the world? How do I curate to
In your classroom?
Thinking maps and Google Docs.
Google Doc, okay. Okay, I'm going to call a timeout here. You see where I'm going with this? There's a lot of different kinds of technologies that we use in our scope of our lessons. Okay, and depending on who you talk to, you're going to get different kinds of sequences of how those lessons should be. If I'm using the Madeline Hunter, like it's kind of what I was just referring to, that'd be one sequence. If you talk to some of the more constructivist kinds of people, it would be a little bit different. So you're talking about whatever the sequences you're using. So what I'd like you to do is I've prepared all the things I can imagine us using in the classroom at 11:30 at night after I'm super tired. So the list isn't that extensive. But can you guys have a look here? There's let's see, I'm going to refresh. Yeah, oh, I see where it is. On the side where it says Group A supplemental activities. Can you click on that? And here you've got a list of, okay, so I didn't do bad though, right? I mean, it's not that bad. Could have used a cup of coffee to get everything in there. So here's a range of things that many of you mentioned. At the end of this conversation, what I'd like you to do is have a conversation in your group around some of these topics. Now, take a look at this. I want you to consider for a second. I'm going to read through them. So knowledge production, assessment, classroom management, instructional design, media literacy, productivity, professional learning. I'm missing several things here. Can you have a conversation at your table to see if there's anything missing on this list that should be a part of our instructional conversation? Take about 2 minutes.
We're supposed to decide what's missing. Is it okay if I just add some of the stuff we're saying right now? Yeah. All right, so you guys said evaluation.
And this link, Mickey is clicking on this link here. I just created a shared document for you to can type into. So you can click on that, you can add some of your comments. Take about maybe a minute longer.
I don't have access to that document.
You know?
And
when you click on the link at the top.
Or sharing of knowledge. I don't know. Oh, I was thinking of the story set, like interesting.
Yeah, that's, I wanted to compare it to
yes, you know well, I guess I want to know what is the purpose of this list? Like, is it better to be more pull out pieces of the instructional design, or no? Bigger.
I like what you said about collaboration. Okay, so take about 10 seconds, then we're going to kind of bring it together and talk a little bit about some of the things we've added to the list. Okay, so this is fantastic. He did so much better than I did at midnight. Just kidding. And it wasn't yesterday midnight. It was a couple of days ago. So you're thinking I'm waiting until last minute. Okay. So anyways, what do we have here? So we've got somebody in collaboration. Thank you, because that was obvious. That was the very first thing I was hoping you would share out. Because okay. So building background knowledge, discussions, good. Presentation knowledge. Okay. So here's the standards and some of the others that we've added at the bottom. Let's see, group discussions, good. Creativity, checking for understanding. Okay, great. So what I'd like you to do, and I'll be candid with you. I'm going to leave this to your discretion how you want to produce it. But what I'd like to have is a link. A link somewhere in this document. I should have created a table for you to insert your stuff in. A link in this document for your group. So just like one person per group.
How about a text box?
And Nikki said text box is great. There may be a table, but it could be down. So what I'd like you to do is I want you to put a link here to some graphic. Padlet, could be a Word document, could be a doc, could be a Google Doc, that takes. I do have control over this. It takes a look, and this is where it may get really kind of noisy, because these are really cool links to all these like really short YouTube videos, which I did approve. So I'd like you to place some of these things in these categories that you created. All right, so I want you to make a connection here. You see where I'm going with this? All right, so at your group, what I like is to take a look at these areas of instruction and then place these things here into these, or take this and place it into this. Now, here's a table here. I was thinking, gosh, I could really save some time and just copy Darrell's table, paste it into my own document, and just add these suggestions next to these items here, which might be something that I would recommend you do.
Yeah. So I'm clarifying.
Okay, thank you, Sarah.
You want us,
You see,
those are all instructional practices or ways to.
This is what we came up with, which are components of our learning.
And you want us to connect them to which one could we use Adobe Spark?
Yeah.
Which one would we use?
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you're plugging. So you can do a Padlet. You can do some crazy graphic thing, or you can just create your own Word document or a doc where you have this table, and you're just connecting these components to these. Now, let me ask you this. Something that we're all familiar with. Okay, so Padlet. Everybody knows Padlet, right? We did a training here. Okay, so which one of these would you place next to Padlet? Okay.
Could we put more than one next to Padlet?
Okay, that's my point.
It could be a survey.
So right. So you can have Padlet be a part of how you could have a group discussion. So you can put group discussion here. A Padlet would also be a good way, and you can even could you do assessment with Padlet? Okay. So you see where I'm going? So you may have multiple things in each one of these. And I'm not suggesting that you plow through each one of these items. We're going to take this whatever time we have, like 5 minutes. But I'm curious as to see whether or not we're thinking in these terms. We're putting the lesson components together with the actual tools that are out there. Okay? Okay, so for clarification, what is our task? Anybody want to describe what our task is? What do we need to do?
I need to figure out which of these, what do you call them in the table? What do you call them? Which of these applications would be conducive to different types of presentations or classroom activities in that we have. We're categorizing activities according to the app.
Right. Okay, so we're gonna do a hard stop at in about 5 minutes.
All the things are just.
Julia. And we can do like other goals of collaboration. Hey, somebody put it before.
Doing all my school
illustrations.
Oh, because I'm in the wrong one. Where's the one? It does. You're down here. That's on to the wrong one.
It looks like that, but it isn't.
You call it the same thing, or you call it Jarrell textual. It wasn't that's why. Yeah, got it.
Use this one.
So good. I'm out. Put out a question.
Yeah.
They would answer.
I just put our
sorry. Oops. Go ahead. No, you go ahead. I'm Snipping tool.
Snipping, so I have pictures. It's like OneDrive.
I would use it in evaluation.
I didn't even know. No, that's good. So use this as a writable document. So like word processor is at the bottom here. Forms is not listed, so add forms there if you like as a text tool for sure.
You don't have all your Google stuff. It's like one of the Google things. Got one Google thing, Google Drive.
I'll be the last.
I like
I know they didn't know both, but it's easier.
we don't have to
That's why I took
like the images, right place, right.
Insert column or some column.
But I'm going to.
Try to create my own.
Oh,
They
don't have all the little things in
Well, yeah.
Creativity is so complicated.
I don't know, make me rows.
Yeah.
Oh, just put it to the right?
I'm like, wow, I've never got this done. Okay, other ones.
Oh, thank you, there it is.
But see, some of them will only be for a book. You know, probably.
I'll do that. Insert row below. There we go.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put Google, what's it? All the Google Maps all together is the Google, whatever was on the suites. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna take about 30 seconds and do a hard stop right there.
How about
Yes, it's it does a screenshot of your live video of your I just realized I didn't know what that was. I don't know what video it is. Yeah, definitely. Collaboration too. I don't know, learning tools.
interaction? It is.
Oh, I know. It's a storytelling app. Storytelling. So, presentation, evaluation. Oh, we should share this with
Wrap up your conversation, you're clicking and you're writing in about 10 seconds.
You're right.
Copy link. Yes, I want to use the subscription if you go your own different way. Not like, oh, I can do it in my classroom.
Okay.
This slide.
So, I want to be very, very vigilant with your time because I know it's precious.
Where do you want our links to?
All right. Well, you can place them someplace in this document. So somebody was writing into this one here, so I appreciate that because then I don't have to do it. So no, it's a lot of people, so it's really great. So let's take a look. So when it comes to so somebody knew what Adobe Spark was. Okay, so that's really great. Who commented on the Adobe Spark thing? Okay, Serena. Okay, and Claudia knows what. At least we know what it is. So creativity, presentation, collaboration, building background knowledge, and production. Okay, so good. So we're making these connections here. Classroom Skype, or let's look around Skype in the classroom. Collaboration, building background. Good. Okay, so this is kind of some of the things we want to start considering. Productivity with ClassLink. Excellent. Yeah. So Padlet, group discussions and assessment. Very good. Now. Okay, so Mickey asked, where do you want me to put the link? If you could write into this document, if you want to you can do a text box, or you can just type your name, do a hyperlink to your name. That'd be great. Okay. What do you think about this activity? Do we need to be doing this at our sites once in a while? I mean. Some of this thinking around all these great tools, I think Joey and Nancy and I, we sit around thinking, oh gosh, we can't spend forever doing level 1 training, teaching everybody how to make an assignment and add grade. I mean, at some point we've got to push in and determine what the actual best practices are connected to all these things. I would kind of. There's a much more elegant way to have this discussion, but you could do this really simply with your staff and just kind of list out a bunch of the tech tools and just list all the components of your lesson and see if you can make that connection. Any other ahas, any thoughts or comments about any of this stuff? Sarah?
Preschool TK, and I'm thinking, I'm second grade. I don't know what we can do. And she's like, oh, we do this now. I'm like, oh, I better get it together. And I can add more to my second graders, ability and introduce more to them, especially like just a lot of the things that out there. I'm like, okay, I know how to do it.
I also left a really cool link, Common Sense Media. This is really awesome. This gives you a whole list of different cool apps. But Any other comments about this?
I like this idea because my teachers are very overwhelmed with the amount of tools at their disposal, but maybe even connecting it to the technology standards, because I think teachers still don't have a lot of training on that either. So.
Now, when you're referring to technology standards, are you referring to the standards in your the state
ISTE.
Standards? Oh, you're talking about the ISTE standards. Okay, good. So I'll make a distinction because we just left a meeting where we only talked about the technology that's required in the Common Core. Okay, so that's a really good. If you have a chance to think about the ISTE standards, they're super cool, very dynamic. It just blows me. Okay. Any other comments? Thoughts about this? Okay. This is a really exciting announcement. I'm going to let Nancy take the floor on this. Or
Joy.
Joy. Joy?
Yes.
The big news? Who's going to do it?
Joy is.
Okay. All right, so we're just announcing.
Oh, we filled her in?
Okay.
Okay.
So some of you may or may not know. Well, some of you may know. We are having a EdTech celebration. We are excited to celebrate all the leaps and bounds that all of our teachers have made. And we're not looking to just showcase like experts. We're looking to showcase teachers who have taken that risk to fold in something new into their classroom. So we're looking for presenters, and it doesn't have to be someone who you're like, oh, I was great at tech at 2. Like it can be, and I was talking to another teacher today, and she was sharing with me how she's like, I took a risk, and I folded it in, and this is what my classroom looks like, and I found what worked for me, and I found what didn't work for me, and that's what we're looking for. Because we found that there's power when our teachers are hearing from fellow teachers, especially PUSD ones, who go through what they're going through, are held to the same standards they are, held to the same assessments, and so on and so forth. So we are looking for speakers, and
so we are planning on hosting a Educational Technology Day in 2019, early 2019. So because you guys are all awesome, we hope that some of you volunteer. Let me show you some details that we have and some of the needs that we have. So we were kind of just brainstorming this morning. Let me see if I can minimize this. So this is pretty much what it's going to look like. So it will be a full, actually I shouldn't say full day event. It's going to be half the event. Tentative time, 8:30, 12:30 with a keynote included and 3 sessions. So for those of us who have attended CUE, think like a mini CUE style. So we plan to break it up, K-5 speakers, and we want to have 6-12 speakers, and then any one of us will have general sessions going on. So if you look closely, because we have split it up not only by grade level, but also by content area, we want to have a total of 6 presenters minimum if they're willing to do session 1, session 2, or session 3 back to back. But otherwise, we can have many speakers, even one for each. That would be awesome.
Is this going to be on a Saturday, or?
Yes, we plan to hold it on a Saturday, and that date is still also, we're working on the date.
We're thinking right at the beginning of the semester. I hope that's not still straight. So close to the very beginning of the semester too, and we're slating it to take place at Odyssey STEM Academy, so this is what our draft is. Kicking off this first conversation, and you're the first audience for this conversation. And so as we get participants who have got entries, who've got things that they want to share with us, this may adjust and morph a little bit. But this is kind of our entry point at this level, and we want to start with you. We want to start with you guys as the experts. So we want to see your name's there. And so think about some of the things that really excites you in the classroom, things that you feel are just, really get you up in the morning, and that you would really be excited to share with others. Yeah. Thank you.
I was going to ask, are you thinking of having like certain topics, like getting active participation, or are you just going to have like a grade level, like this grade level teacher is just sharing what she's doing, or are you thinking of it being more tuned into a certain like covering a certain aspect of
Let me
instruction?
ask you a question. Are you using a technology right now that you're excited about, that you've seen students really respond to and really grow from?
Yeah. But there's lots of stuff. So, like.
You said pick one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something that you found in your classroom to be totally effective. And that you can, spend about a half hour telling us about, and then maybe another 15 minutes really kind of, getting some share out and discussion for a 45-minute block.
So I'm thinking like Chris Barboza could do a session on going paperless.
Correct.
And would it be in a computer lab or would it be in a, because I just can't have 6 people. Would they be actively participating? I guess that's my question.
The requirements, I think we have them written into the assumption is you bring your own device.
Everyone brings a device, okay.
Okay,
So for example, if we have a person that was interested in doing something in math, that person will do the same thing 3 times for the 3 different sessions?
Not necessarily. We can have different speakers for different sessions.
Oh,
So at the
But
least,
if
we
you
only
signed
have
up-
6 people, then we'll have, or 7 people, then we'll have 7. If we have more, let's fill the board, guys.
Yeah.
We're trying to fill the board. However, when Marilyn makes her entry, I know that we're going to run out of
Yeah, so if you want to add your name now, hey, first come, first serve.
right.
Don't all, come at us.
We're gonna do some during, but this is our first
Language
this is our first blush at this. So, and if we see a lot of people with the same thing, we may say, hey, we want Serena and Sarah. Could you guys get together? I'm just kind of thinking out loud.
Uh-huh.
So, but we want these guys. We want you guys to have your names on this first before we go.
So bear in mind, we are not looking like it will be tomorrow or next week. So I know that, one thing could be anxiety over, how fast do I have to prep things? Yeah. I think we're discussing around the semester switch, so that does give some time. And it'll give you some time to think about it. But if you just have an idea, just throw it up there. And if you need some help fleshing it out, you want to run an outline by us while you're thinking of what you want to pitch and when, we can take a look and help you guys out because you're helping us out.
And any ideas or suggestions are welcomed. We are in the planning phases, so if there's something really cool that you remember learning at Q or at another conference you've been to, please send over those suggestions so that we can start talking about them as we plan for this event.
Send them over through email.
Email our group.
So what do you think? Do you think the teachers would be able to sign up? Do you think we'll get participants, or do you think just us?
Are you paying them to come on a Saturday?
Yes,
Nancy says yes.
That's another issue. As lead teachers, we can say, I want to show you about Padlet. Nobody shows because they don't care, or we can't pay them.
Well, I think that streaming service as it is, there could be an opportunity for us to do some distance learning that day, so we may have more participants than actually are there face to face. Anyways, is that it?
Yeah.
Nancy? Sure. Okay, you guys, thank you. It's awesome to see you. Please take cookies and goodies.
Of like work times, or like let's say you did for 30 minutes and then you pushed the digital Padlet.